in the pale, trembling light of dawn, as the first rays of the sun glinted off the metallic surfaces of countless aircraft lined up along the airfield. A solitary pilot prepared for a mission that none of the men around him could have predicted would become legendary. His hands gripping the controls with a mixture of nervous anticipation and unspoken resolve, knowing that the skies above, stretching endlessly into the distance, were alive with danger and uncertainty, each cloud potentially hiding an enemy squadron. Each gust of wind a test of skill and precision. And as the engines of his aircraft roared to life, echoing across the tarmac like a chorus of thunder and defiance, the young pilot's heart pounded with a rhythm that matched the vibrations beneath his seat. Rhythm of fear and exhilaration, of anticipation and dread, for this was no ordinary sortie. This was a flight into history, a battle that would not only test the limits of his skill, but the very nature of respect, courage, and human connection in the theater of war. And as he taxied toward the runway, the seasoned instructors watching from the side could sense that something remarkable was unfolding. The young pilot's determination visible in the tight set of his jaw, the fierce focus in his eyes, the subtle, almost imperceptible deep breath he took before lifting the plane into the air. And as he climbed higher, leaving the familiarity of the ground behind, the wind rushing past the fuselage with a howl that could drown out thought, the world below shrinking into a patchwork of fields, rivers and distant towns, he knew that every second, every decision would matter, that his actions in the next moments could define. It's not only his own survival, but the respect and perception of friend and foe alike. And as the horizon stretched infinitely, he saw the faint silhouettes of enemy aircraft appearing against the dawn, their engines humming a warning, a challenge, a test, and for a heartbeat, time seemed suspended. Every detail hyperreal, every sound exaggerated, every shadow carrying the weight of imminent conflict. And as he maneuvered his plane into position, anticipating the enemy's approach, the very air seemed charged with electricity, a tense, silent anticipation of combat, of decisions that would need to be made in milliseconds. And then, as the first enemy fighter banked sharply toward him, engines screaming, the young pilot's instincts, honed in hours of training, yet now tempered by the immediate reality of life and death, took over, guiding his movements, aligning his aircraft in perfect harmony with the laws of physics, the shifting clouds, and the tactical calculations of aerial warfare. And as the first burst of fire illuminated the sky with streaks of tracer bullets, the young pilot realized that this engagement would not be measured merely by victory or defeat, but by the extraordinary humanity displayed amidst the chaos, the courage to face a deadly adversary, the precision required to survive, and the respect that could be forged even between sworn enemies in the crucible of combat. And as he dodged, dove, and banked with a fluidity that seemed almost otherworldly, the enemy pilots demonstrated a rare combination of skill and honor. Their movements precise, their attacks deliberate, but never reckless. And as tracer rounds zipped past, engines roared, and clouds swirled around them, the young pilot recognized a moment of surreal clarity, an understanding that despite the deadly stakes, there was a shared code, a silent acknowledgement of bravery and mastery in the art of aerial combat. And as the minutes stretched, the engagement transformed from mere battle to a breathtaking display of skill, precision, and mutual respect. With each maneuver and countermaneuver, a testament to the extraordinary capabilities of those involved. And as the smoke of spent tracers faded into the clouds, and the sun's first full rays illuminated the aerial theater, the young pilot's eyes locked for a fleeting instant on the enemy leader. And in that moment, a gesture, subtle yet profoundly moving, a salute mid-air. Wings tipped in respect shattered the tension with an almost surreal humanity, a recognition that in the midst of conflict, courage and skill could transcend hostility, and that a bond, fleeting yet eternal, could be forged in the most extreme of circumstances. And as the young pilot returned the salute, the heart-stopping reality of the encounter settled over him, a mixture of awe, fear, and exhilaration. The kind of moment that imprints on memory forever. The kind of event that transforms ordinary men into legends. And as the battle continued above the clouds, each maneuver, each careful adjustment, each calculated move imbued with the knowledge that respect and honor could coexist with deadly skill. The young pilot's awareness of the extraordinary nature of the moment sharpened every sense, every reflex, every decision, and as he guided his aircraft through the swirling sky, dodging, evading, positioning, and countering with breathtaking precision, the story of that first breathtaking minute unfolded in real time, a story of suspense, mastery, and human connection. The kind of story that would echo through history, studied and marveled at 4 generations, a narrative where skill met courage, courage met respect, and respect met legacy. A story not merely of aerial combat, but of the humanity that could be glimpsed even amidst the fire and fury of war. And as the young pilot spiraled, rolled, and weaved in perfect synchronization with the enemy formations, the tension became almost unbearable, the viewer suspended in a moment of awe and suspense. Every second pregnant with potential victory, potential catastrophe, and yet even in this life-or-death struggle, the gestures of honor, the careful avoidance of unnecessary recklessness, the precision of maneuvers, all conveyed a deeper truth that even in the most violent arenas, human skill, bravery, and respect could shine with a brilliance that transcends fear and destruction. And as the first point of the engagement stretched on, the young pilot realized that history itself was unfolding around him, that every roll, dive, and barrel maneuver, every calculated burst of speed and positioning, every instant of split-second decision-making was weaving the fabric of a story that would become legendary, a story where enemies saluted one another in midair, a story that would thrill, inspire, and astonish, leaving all who witnessed or later learned of it breathless with awe, suspense, and admiration. A story whose full magnitude could only be appreciated in the span of hours, minutes, and seconds that blurred into a single, monumental event, a narrative of courage, mastery, and respect that would become a benchmark for what it means to face an enemy and earn their honor in the crucible of the skies. And as clouds rolled past, sunlight flaring in bursts, engines screaming, and tracer bullets etching fiery arcs across the canvas of the heavens, the young pilot's focus, fear, and exhilaration fused into a singular, defining moment. A breathtaking combination of suspense, skill, humanity, and heroism that marked the opening chapter of what would become the most respectful and legendary aerial battle in history. A story that would not only captivate viewers, but hold them spellbound for every second of the unfolding saga. And as the young pilot maneuvered through the upper layers of sky, clouds swirling around him like ethereal waves, each burst of sunlight reflecting off the fuselage of his aircraft, he felt the full weight of the moment settle upon his shoulders, a mix of exhilaration and tension, knowing that every decision he made could mean life or death, not only for himself, but for his crew and the enemy pilots who, despite being opponents, shared the same sky, the same physics, and the same mortal vulnerability. And as he twisted the throttle, adjusting his trajectory with the precision of a master, his mind raced through countless calculations, angles, speeds, and vectors, each movement a subtle negotiation with gravity, wind, and the maneuvering of enemy planes. And in that suspended state of heightened awareness, he felt an extraordinary clarity, the kind that comes only in moments of extreme focus, fear, and adrenaline, as though time itself had slowed to allow him to perceive every detail. From the glint of sunlight on a distant enemy canopy to the faint trail of exhaust, signaling the movement of an approaching plane. And in these seconds, each infinitesimal decision carried the full weight of consequence, requiring perfect timing, coordination, and instinct. And as he adjusted his roll to counter a steep bank from one enemy fighter, while simultaneously tracking another weaving into position, he recognized that the unfolding engagement was no longer mere combat. It was a ballet of skill, courage, and precision, an aerial dance in which respect and recognition, even between enemies, could manifest in the subtlest gestures, the tilt of wings, the careful avoidance of unnecessary aggression, and the unspoken acknowledgement that mastery of the skies was a universal language understood by all pilots, whether friend or foe. And as the minutes stretched, the young pilot's senses sharpened to an almost supernatural acuity. Each sound, vibration, and visual cue processed instantly, informing split-second decisions. And as he executed a rapid barrel roll to evade a sudden oncoming fighter, he caught a glimpse of the enemy leader tipping his wings in a fleeting salute, a gesture so unexpected and profound that it both stunned and inspired him. And in that moment, a new understanding emerged, that even in the deadly context of war, honor, courage, and respect could exist alongside conflict. That the human element, skill, judgment, empathy, and recognition of another's bravery could transform a lethal encounter into a narrative of mutual acknowledgement. And as he responded with a subtle nod of his aircraft, maintaining focus on the engagement while honoring the enemy's gesture, he felt a surge of awe and understanding that this single moment, captured in the heat of battle, would resonate far beyond the skies, beyond the day, beyond even his own life, echoing in stories, reports, and recollections for generations. And as the aerial maneuvers intensified, the young pilot found himself executing the most complex sequences of rolls, dives, and climbs he had ever attempted, each calculated to evade enemy fire while simultaneously positioning himself to demonstrate skill, maintain safety, and preserve the mutual respect that had spontaneously emerged in the heat of combat. And as tracer rounds illuminated the clouds like sparks on a dark canvas, as flak erupted in distant bursts, and the roar of engines filled the atmosphere with a deafening chorus, he experienced a sense of transcendence, a realization that courage and precision could elevate human experience to extraordinary heights, that fear could sharpen instinct and focus, that respect could emerge even in the most violent, high-stakes scenarios. And as he maneuvered in perfect harmony with both the laws of physics and the intentions of his adversaries, he understood that this encounter was unlike any other, that this was a battle not defined solely by victory or loss, but by the recognition of mastery, bravery, and human dignity. And as the enemy formation began to respond with coordinated maneuvers of their own, the young pilot adapted instantly, predicting every trajectory, calculating every angle, and moving with a fluidity that seemed almost preternatural. And in these extended moments, he became aware of the extraordinary narrative unfolding in real time, a story that would captivate, inspire, and mesmerize anyone who learned of it, a story in which suspense, skill, danger, and mutual respect interwove into a tapestry of awe-inspiring human achievement. And as the sun fully illuminated the clouds, casting long shadows across the theater of engagement, he noted the smallest details, the glint of light off an enemy canopy, the subtle shift in engine tone signaling a change in altitude, the faint curl of smoke from a distant aircraft. Each piece of information processed instantly, informing the next split-second decision. And as the young pilot executed a daring climb, followed by a precise roll, positioning himself to both evade and honor the enemy's skill, he felt a profound exhilaration, the kind that comes only from being fully alive in moments of extreme tension, awareness, and engagement. And as he leveled the aircraft and observed the enemy pilots tipping their wings once more in acknowledgement, the full scope of the extraordinary encounter became clear. This was not merely combat. It was a demonstration of humanity, courage, skill, and mutual respect. A narrative that would resonate for generations, a story whose suspense, heroism, and breathtaking skill would captivate audiences, inspiring awe and admiration, leaving no doubt that even amidst the chaos of war, human decency, recognition of bravery, and honor could shine. And as he maneuvered through clouds, sunlight, and tracer fire, the young pilot realized that every action, every response, every calculation had contributed to an unprecedented moment in aerial combat history. A moment where enemies recognized skill and courage midair, a moment so charged with suspense, heroism, and human connection that it would never be forgotten. A moment that defined what it truly meant to face an adversary and earn their respect. A moment whose magnitude would echo in stories, legends, and historical records forever. A story of tension, suspense, skill, and breathtaking heroism that left all who witnessed or later learned of it utterly spellbound, enthralled, and inspired. A story where fear transformed into focus, danger into mastery, and enemies into mutual witnesses of extraordinary human achievement. And as the engagement continued, clouds swirling, engines roaring, tracers streaking through the sky, the young pilot remained at the center of a story that transcended combat, transcended fear, transcended time, becoming a tale of human potential, bravery, and mutual respect in the most intense, high-stakes circumstances imaginable, a story whose suspense, intensity, and heroism ensured that every moment of the encounter held the audience's attention. A story that would grip, thrill, and inspire, leaving an indelible mark on history, imagination, and human understanding, forever immortalizing the moment when enemy pilots saluted him mid-air in the most respectful battle in history. And as the young pilot pushed his aircraft through the layered skies, clouds shifting and streaming past like living waves, he became acutely aware of the tension coiling in every crevice of his body, the tautness of muscles honed by countless hours of training yet now fully activated by the immediacy of mortal danger, the racing of his heartbeat echoing in rhythm with the droning engines and the distant, approaching hum of enemy aircraft, and as he observed the formations ahead, the precise lines of enemy fighters maneuvering with skill and discipline. He noted the subtle nuances of their flight patterns, the slight hesitations that betrayed experience, the aggressive adjustments in pursuit, and the sudden shifts in angle that could signal both attack and opportunity. And in this suspended state of heightened awareness, he felt an extraordinary clarity, a fusion of instinct, cognition, and learned skill that allowed him to anticipate movements before they occurred, to calculate trajectories, distances, velocities, and potential vectors in the space of milliseconds. And as a flurry of tracers arced past his aircraft, slicing through the sunlight and clouds like streaks of molten metal, he adjusted his roll and dived with precision, narrowly avoiding destruction while simultaneously positioning himself to observe, react, and honor the skill of his adversaries. And in this delicate balance between aggression and recognition, danger and respect, the young pilot began to appreciate the deeper significance of the encounter, understanding that the engagement transcended the typical metrics of victory, loss, or survival, and instead represented a rare convergence of human courage, technical mastery, and mutual acknowledgement. A moment in which the very essence of aerial combat became a platform for demonstrating not only skill, but dignity and respect. And as he spiraled through the sky, looping, banking, and climbing in perfect synchronization with the enemy formation, he caught sight of the subtle gestures, wings tipped slightly, formation adjustments made to avoid reckless destruction, moments of hesitancy that spoke to shared awareness of danger and mastery that conveyed the silent communication of honor between adversaries. And in recognizing this, young pilot's own movements became not only about survival, but about participating in a dialogue, a high-stakes airborne conversation in which each maneuver carried multiple layers of meaning: evasion, attack, defense, recognition, and respect. And as he executed a daring high-speed dive, narrowly avoiding the enemy's firing line, he felt a surge of exhilaration, a profound awareness that he was part of something larger than himself, a living moment of history that blended suspense, drama, and human connection. And as the minutes stretched into what felt like an eternity, every second charged with anticipation, fear, and awe, the young pilot's senses remained heightened, processing visual and auditory cues with lightning speed, integrating them into rapid calculations and decisive actions, each maneuver feeding the next in a chain reaction of instinct and intellect. And as the enemy formation responded with coordinated shifts, he adapted seamlessly, anticipating trajectories, countering angles, adjusting thrust and elevation, while maintaining vigilance over every member of his own squadron and the surrounding airspace. And in this continuous flow of perception and action, he realized that the engagement was evolving into something unprecedented. A spectacle in which courage, skill, and respect converged in the mid-air theater, creating a narrative that would captivate, astonish, and inspire those who learned of it for generations. And as tracer fire illuminated the clouds with bursts of incandescent light, and the engine screamed with fury and force, he saw the fleeting gestures of acknowledgement once more, enemy pilots saluting him mid-air, tipping wings in recognition of his skill, bravery, and precision, a phenomenon so rare and profound that it transcended conventional combat narratives. And in these moments, he experienced a surge of emotion, a mixture of awe, disbelief, and exhilaration. Understanding fully that this encounter would not only define his career but also become a timeless example of human capability, mutual respect, and the extraordinary potential for honor to emerge even amidst the chaos and violence of war. And as he weaved through cloud formations, spiraled in tight turns, and executed precise maneuvers to maintain position and safety, he contemplated the intricate blend of physical, cognitive, and emotional factors that had brought him to this point, the instincts sharpened by fear, the technical mastery honed through countless hours of training, the rapid decision-making under extreme duress, and the recognition of the humanity even in his opponents. And as the sunlight glinted off the polished metal of both friendly and enemy aircraft, casting dramatic shadows across the clouds and sky, he realized that each split-second action carried layers of meaning, a choreography of survival, communication, skill, and respect. A ballet in which every loop, dive, roll, and counter-maneuver was both a defensive tactic and an acknowledgement of shared mastery. And as the engagement continued, the suspense mounted with every second, the tension so tangible it could be felt in the tightening of muscles, the rapid intake of breath, the heightened awareness of wind, altitude, and proximity. And yet through all of this, the young pilot found a sense of profound purpose, a clarity that survival alone could not provide, an understanding that the story unfolding above the clouds was extraordinary not because of who would fall or survive, but because of the rare and breathtaking display of courage, skill, and mutual recognition, a narrative that would captivate audiences, leaving them suspended in awe, suspense, and admiration. As every maneuver told a story of human potential, and as he leveled his aircraft, prepared for the next high-stakes maneuver, and observed the enemy saluting once more, the realization hit that this was the defining moment. The apex of suspense and human drama, a story of aerial mastery, heroism, and respect that would endure in memory, history, and legend. A story whose complexity, intensity, and breathtaking suspense ensured that every second captivated the imagination, and that the young pilot, alone in the sky yet connected through invisible threads of recognition and courage to his adversaries, had become part of a saga that would thrill, inspire, and awe every viewer and historian who would ever hear of it, forever immortalizing the most respectful battle in history, where skill, bravery, and honor soared above fear and destruction, leaving a legacy that would echo through generations. And as the young pilot navigated the ever-shifting expanse of sky, clouds forming and dissolving like turbulent waves in an endless ocean, every motion of his aircraft was dictated by a precise interplay of instinct, training, and acute perception. Each adjustment of throttle, aileron, rudder, and elevator measured in milliseconds, calibrated to evade enemy fire while simultaneously maintaining optimal positioning for both defense and observation. And as the enemy formation twisted, banked, and spiraled around him, he perceived subtle cues in their movement, the faint tilt of a wing, the ever-so-slight shift in engine pitch, the glint of sunlight off canopy glass. Each a signal, a hidden code in the dynamic, high-stakes ballet unfolding above the clouds, and in these moments, he realized that survival depended not solely on reaction time, but on anticipation, foresight, and the ability to synthesize an ever-changing tapestry of visual, auditory, and mechanical information into coherent action. And as he executed a rapid dive to evade a converging fighter, The wind whipping past the cockpit, the hum of the engine vibrating through his body, the tracer rounds streaking past like fiery serpents, he felt a simultaneous thrill and terror. A sensation that heightened his awareness, sharpened his reflexes, and allowed him to operate at the peak of human performance. And as the enemy pilots continued to maneuver with deadly precision, occasionally tipping their wings in acknowledgement, the young pilot recognized the profound humanity embedded in these gestures. A mutual recognition of skill, courage, and mastery, transcending the immediate danger and transforming a lethal engagement into a spectacle of extraordinary respect. And as he rolled, climbed, and banked in near-perfect synchronization with the enemy's movements, he noted the subtle artistry of their coordination, the elegant geometry of their formations, the intuitive understanding of aerodynamics and tactics that allowed them to dance through the sky with deadly grace. And he marveled at the fact that even amidst war, amidst fire, death, and destruction, there existed moments of shared acknowledgement, moments in which the extraordinary talents of human beings could be recognized and honored by one another, a realization that infused him with both adrenaline and awe, heightening his focus while simultaneously grounding him in the magnitude of the experience. And as minutes stretched into what felt like an eternity, the engagement evolved into an almost surreal demonstration of skill, courage, and mutual respect, each maneuver meticulously calculated to balance offense, defense, and honor, each dive roll, and climb a testament to the mastery of flight and the unspoken communication between adversaries. And as tracer fire illuminated clouds like sparks across a darkened sky, as engines roared and smoke trails twisted in the sunlight, he realized that the engagement was no longer simply a test of survival, but an intricate, high-stakes narrative of human capability and shared recognition. A story that would be recounted in awe for decades to come. A story in which suspense, skill, and honor intertwined to produce a moment of pure cinematic grandeur. And as he spiraled through cloud formations, narrowly avoiding incoming fire, adjusting his trajectory with lightning reflexes, he felt a sense of timelessness, as though every second were stretching to encompass not only the immediate peril, but the significance of the act itself. And as the enemy leader saluted once more, tipping wings in acknowledgement of his extraordinary skill and courage, he realized that he was witnessing a rare and historic phenomenon. A battle defined not by annihilation, but by mutual recognition, by respect and honor forged in the crucible of extreme adversity. And as he executed another daring roll, diving beneath a trailing enemy fighter while simultaneously banking to align for observation, he contemplated the extraordinary synchronicity between danger, skill, and ethical conduct in the most high-stakes environment imaginable, a realization that deepened both his focus and his awe. And as the minutes passed, each maneuver became both survival and narrative, an unfolding story of human potential, bravery, and honor. And with each evasion and countermove, the legend of the engagement was being etched into the sky itself, as though the clouds, sunlight, and smoke trails conspired to record this moment for eternity. And as he leveled the aircraft briefly, scanning the formation, he noted the fleeting gestures, the subtle adjustments that communicated unspoken respect, the precision that demonstrated mastery, and the humanity that transcended the immediate combat. And in this heightened state of awareness, he recognized that he was part of a story that would inspire, thrill, and awe every observer, a story whose suspense, intensity, and cinematic beauty would captivate audiences, a tale of unparalleled heroism, skill, and the extraordinary phenomenon of enemy pilots saluting a fellow combatant midair, a story whose impact would reverberate far beyond the battle itself, embedding itself into the consciousness of historians, pilots and enthusiasts alike, a narrative defined by suspense, precision, courage, and mutual recognition. And as he dove, rolled, and climbed again, weaving through clouds and tracer fire, he felt the profound intersection of human ingenuity, instinct, and ethical conduct. A breathtaking combination of elements that elevated the engagement beyond mere warfare into an almost mythic demonstration of aerial mastery. And as the enemy pilots maintained formation while signaling acknowledgement through salutes and wing gestures, he realized that this was a rare encounter in history, one that would forever be studied and remembered as the epitome of courage, honor, and mutual respect under conditions of extreme danger. And as he executed yet another perfect maneuver, aligning his aircraft to the optimal position while maintaining constant vigilance, he felt a surge of exhilaration, a recognition that the story unfolding was one of the most suspenseful, awe-inspiring, and deeply human narratives imaginable. A tale whose tension, drama, and cinematic beauty would hold viewers spellbound. And as the sun rose higher, casting brilliant rays across the clouds and illuminating every streak of smoke and tracer, the young pilot understood that every moment of this engagement was a testament to the extraordinary potential of human skill, bravery, and respect, a narrative that would echo for generations, leaving no doubt that heroism, mastery, and honor could coexist even in the most dangerous and lethal circumstances. And as he continued to weave through the sky, managing throttle altitude and trajectory with precision born of instinct and training, the story of this historic encounter, the respectful battle where enemy pilots saluted him, grew in magnitude and cinematic suspense, ensuring that every second was an unforgettable testament to human courage, skill, and the extraordinary phenomenon of mutual respect forged in the crucible of war, a story that would forever captivate, inspire, and awe anyone who experienced it in memory, recounting, or legend.
And as the young pilot continued to soar through the infinite expanse of sky, clouds billowing and breaking like waves in a storm-tossed sea, each maneuver executed with precision, grace, and instinct honed under the most extreme pressures, he felt the full weight of the moment pressing upon him, a combination of fear, exhilaration, responsibility, and awe, knowing that each split-second decision could determine life or death for himself, his crew, and even the enemy pilots who, despite being adversaries, were part of the same extraordinary theater of human skill and courage. And as he adjusted the throttle, tilted the wings, and banked sharply to evade a converging enemy fighter, he perceived the subtle nuances in their formation, the slight hesitation in a dive, the faint shift of an engine's pitch, the precise arc of a roll, that signaled both deadly intent and paradoxically respect, a recognition of mastery in the midst of combat. And in these moments, he understood that this engagement was no longer a simple contest of survival, but a complex, high-stakes narrative of mutual acknowledgement, courage, and technical brilliance. And as tracer fire streaked across the sky, illuminating clouds like molten metal flowing through the heavens, he executed rapid dives, rolls, and climbs with a fluidity that merged instinct, training, and intuition, narrowly avoiding destruction while maintaining awareness of the enemy's movements and anticipating every action with uncanny precision. And in the midst of this high-octane ballet, he caught sight of the enemy leader executing a subtle wingtip salute midair, a gesture so unexpected, so profoundly human, that it momentarily transcended the chaos of combat, freezing time in a suspended instant of awe. And in response, he returned a gesture of his own, a silent acknowledgement that honor, skill, and respect could coexist even in the most lethal of circumstances. And as he maneuvered through cloud layers, engines screaming, tracers carving fiery arcs across the sky, he reflected on the delicate balance of fear and focus, aggression and restraint, danger and recognition, that allowed this unprecedented moment to unfold, each maneuver a calculation of risk and reward, survival and legacy, precision and artistry. And as the enemy formation executed complex banking sequences, coordinated dives, and evasive loops, the young pilot's senses expanded, processing every visual and auditory cue with hyperclarity, integrating them instantly into precise, calculated responses that kept him and his aircraft alive. And as moments stretched into what felt like eternity, he realized that this was not only a battle but a living, breathing narrative of human potential, courage, and respect, a story that would endure in history, memory, and legend, captivating all who heard of it with suspense, drama, and awe-inspiring skill. And as he leveled the aircraft, scanning for enemy positions, assessing altitude, wind currents, and trajectory. He marveled at the extraordinary synchronicity of the engagement, the way skill met instinct, courage met precision, and respect manifested through subtle gestures and perfect timing. And as he executed another daring dive to evade enemy fire while maintaining a position to observe the saluting leader, he felt the adrenaline surge, sharpening every thought, reflex, and movement. And in that heightened state, the story of the engagement began to take shape in his mind not merely as a fight for survival, but as a historical narrative of unmatched suspense, honor, and human mastery. And as the sun broke fully over the horizon, illuminating clouds, smoke trails, and glinting aircraft with cinematic brilliance, he realized that every loop, roll, and maneuver contributed to a tapestry of tension, drama, and all a story of mutual respect forged in the crucible of life and death. And as the engagement continued, each second stretching with breathtaking intensity, he noted the subtle gestures of the enemy pilots, each wingtip tilt, each coordinated adjustment, each precise alignment of altitude and speed, conveying not just tactical mastery but an acknowledgement of human skill and courage. And as he weaved through tracer fire, cloud banks, and shifting light, he understood that this moment was exceptional. A once-in-history event where combat and respect, danger and honor, skill and humanity intertwined, producing a narrative of unparalleled suspense, cinematic beauty, and emotional resonance. And as he adjusted the controls for another tight maneuver, narrowly evading a converging fighter while maintaining eye on the saluting enemy, he felt an overwhelming sense of awe, realizing that every move, every calculation, every instinctual response was not just survival, but part of a living story that would thrill, inspire, and astonish anyone who learned of it, a narrative in which tension, heroism, and respect coalesced into an unforgettable event. And as he banked sharply, rolling through the clouds, sun flaring off fuselage and tracer fire, the full magnitude of the engagement became clear. It was a historic ballet of skill, bravery, and mutual recognition, a narrative that would endure in memory, historical accounts, and legend, captivating viewers with suspense and drama, leaving no doubt that courage, precision, and respect can coexist even amidst the most extreme circumstances. And as the minutes stretched onward, he continued to execute maneuvers of breathtaking skill, each one carefully calculated to balance survival with recognition of the adversary's mastery. And as he observed the enemy formation, noting their precise coordination, their acknowledgement of his prowess, and the subtle human gestures that transcended combat, he realized that this was the most respectful and extraordinary aerial battle in history, a story of suspense, mastery, and honor that would echo through generations, a tale whose cinematic drama, breathtaking maneuvers, and human depth would grip, inspire, and leave all who experienced it utterly spellbound. A narrative where every second mattered, every gesture conveyed meaning, and every decision held the weight of life, legacy, and honor, forever immortalizing the moment when enemy pilots saluted him midair. A story of courage, respect, and heroism that would resonate across time, leaving viewers captivated, inspired, and in awe. As the young pilot climbed into the upper stratosphere, the horizon stretching endlessly before him, painted in the fiery hues of dawn breaking through scattered clouds, he felt an almost surreal combination of fear, exhilaration, and focus, knowing that every second could mean life or death, that every maneuver, each dive, roll, or banking turn, carried consequences not only for himself, but for the enemy pilots who, despite being adversaries, had exhibited a level of skill and honor that defied the brutality of war. And as he adjusted the throttle, leaned into the G-forces, and navigated the intricate dance of aerodynamics and instinct, he reflected on the unprecedented nature of this engagement, a battle where respect had risen above hostility, where courage had been acknowledged midair, where the rules of human decency had silently governed the chaos. And as he spiraled through the sky, narrowly avoiding converging enemy fighters while simultaneously observing their every movement, noting the precise formation shifts, subtle banking adjustments, and even the occasional wingtip salute, He realized that he was not merely surviving a deadly engagement but participating in a moment of history, a narrative so extraordinary that it would resonate across generations. Studied by pilots, historians, and enthusiasts alike, a tale whose suspense, drama, and emotional depth could captivate any audience. And as he executed a series of high-speed maneuvers, looping, diving, rolling with fluidity and precision born of instinct, training, and courage, he witnessed, yet again, the subtle gestures of respect from the enemy, a wing tipped in acknowledgement, an evasive maneuver carefully calculated to avoid reckless destruction, each action a testament to human skill and bravery in its purest form. And as the seconds stretched, the sky itself seeming to hold its breath, the young pilot's mind raced, calculating distances, predicting trajectories, aligning his aircraft with perfect precision while processing the movements of enemy planes, clouds, sunlight, and the constant threat of incoming fire. And in this hyper-focused state, he understood that this engagement transcended typical combat narratives, becoming instead a cinematic ballet of survival, mastery, and mutual recognition, a story where suspense and heroism intertwined, a tale that would inspire awe, admiration, and profound reflection on the human capacity for courage, skill, and respect, even amidst the most extreme danger. And as he executed another daring dive, narrowly evading an enemy plane while maintaining alignment with the formation, he caught sight of the lead adversary tipping his wings once more in midair, a gesture so subtle, so profoundly moving, that it crystallized the extraordinary nature of this battle. And in that suspended moment, a sense of awe, disbelief, and exhilaration washed over him, a recognition that he was participating in the most respectful aerial engagement ever recorded, where enemies acknowledged each other's bravery, precision, and humanity even while locked in combat. And as he continued to weave through clouds, tracer fire, and the shifting sunlight, he felt the tension, suspense, and drama heighten with every second, each maneuver becoming both survival and narrative, each roll, dive, and climb a testament to skill, courage, and honor. And as the engagement neared its conclusion, he executed a final series of maneuvers with flawless precision, ensuring the safety of his aircraft and crew while honoring the extraordinary respect displayed by the enemy. And as the last traces of combat faded into the clouds, the young pilot leveled his aircraft, observing the distant horizon, the enemy formation now receding but still acknowledging his skill and bravery. And in that climactic moment, a profound sense of fulfillment, awe, and triumph enveloped him, the culmination of minutes that felt like hours, hours that felt like eternity. A crescendo of suspense, heroism, and cinematic drama that would forever define the story of the most respectful battle in history. A tale that would grip, thrill, and inspire every viewer, ensuring that the legacy of courage, skill, and honor forged in the skies would never be forgotten. And as he guided the aircraft back toward friendly territory, the sun now fully illuminating the clouds in brilliant hues of gold and crimson, he reflected on the extraordinary intersection of human skill, bravery, and mutual respect that had transformed a lethal engagement into an immortal narrative, a story of suspense, tension, awe, and heroism so powerful that it would captivate all who experienced it, leaving no doubt that even in war, humanity, recognition, and honor could prevail. And as he finally descended toward the safety of the airfield, the engines of his aircraft quieting, the adrenaline slowly ebbing, the breathtaking realization of what had occurred settled over him. That he had been a participant in an unprecedented event where skill, courage, and respect had transcended conflict, creating a legendary tale that would echo through history, immortalized in reports, memoirs, and storytelling for generations. A narrative whose cinematic suspense, emotional depth, and unparalleled heroism ensured that viewers would remain enthralled until the very last second, witnessing the culmination of an extraordinary, awe-inspiring, and profoundly human aerial engagement where enemies saluted midair, leaving an indelible mark on history, memory, and imagination. And as he stepped down from the cockpit, muscles trembling, vision sharp, heart pounding, he understood that this story of suspense, skill, bravery, and respect would live forever, captivating, inspiring, and astonishing all who heard it. and that the legend of that day, the most respectful battle in history, would remain a timeless testament to human courage, honor, and the extraordinary potential of the human spirit, even amidst the chaos and danger of war.